In chapter 22, we see how great Abraham's faith is. After Abraham and his wife have a baby, God says, now I want you to sacrifice that child to me. Rough. Leaving your land, that's one thing. Circumcision, that's one thing. Offering up your son, offering up your child as a burnt offering. Ooh, I might fail this test. But Abraham obliges. Starting in verse 3, it says, so Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took with him 2 of his young men and his son Isaac. He split wood for a burnt offering and set out to go to the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Then Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac. In his hand he took the fire and the knife, and the 2 of them walked on together. Then Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, my father. And he replied, here I am, my son. Isaac said, the fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. Then the 2 of them walked on together. When they arrived at the place that God had told him about, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. He replied, here I am. And he said, do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me. Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham named that place, the Lord will provide. So today it is said, it will be provided on the Lord's mountain. All right, I'm just going to stop now because we have enough to see how Abraham's story points us to the big story in the gospel. It's no coincidence that this very same mountain that they climbed up to provide, to do this offering, the sacrifice of Isaac, where Isaac was spared, happens to be the same exact place Jesus was crucified 2,000 years later. This mountain. It's no coincidence that the Bible uses the same language of one and only son, your only son, of Isaac and later Jesus, God's one and only son. It's no coincidence that Isaac was the son of the promise of God, supernaturally brought into being through a woman who could not possibly bear children, and the firstborn of a new race of people marked off by circumcision. It's no coincidence that Jesus was the son of the promise of God, supernaturally brought into our world through a virgin, and the firstborn of a new race of people marked off by circumcision. Isaac, a natural circumcision, but Jesus, a spiritual circumcision. See, the New Testament talks about casting off that old flesh and being circumcised of the heart. We're casting off this hard shell that's on our heart as a result of sin and being renewed in the life of the Spirit. It's no coincidence that when it says this happened on the 3rd day, on the 3rd day, Isaac was spared from death. And on the 3rd day, Jesus rose and was rescued from the death that he was in. You see the pattern? See the patterns here? The Old Testament was preparing us for what Jesus would do.